I'm out on a small patch of land which is partly a golf course in the summer, and I'm just looking at the gorse, and I was just thinking how amazing it is with gorse that it has that incredible scent of coconut, and then all the colours and shapes of rose hips. Utterly beautiful, and they make such amazing shapes. So, this is the first time I've been out for a proper walk for nearly a month. I've had bronchitis, and that's really, it wasn't just the cough, which was horrible. It was the total lack of energy. So I have continued drawing, and I have continued posting a few films. But anyway, just lovely today to be outside in a semi-wilderness. I just saw a magpie, just a single magpie, and they'd got a stick, a small stick, so it's nest building time. And then that took me to a memory of about 12 years ago when I was on a common, Thwaite Common, famous for Bach remedies actually, because he used to go there and gather up the flowers and the leaves that were growing on the common, and it's where he began to make his remedies, the Bach remedies. Anyway, I was there, and it was late April, and I saw for the first time, and only time, I have to say, I saw for the first time a pair of cuckoos, and I had read somewhere about the cuckoo dance, and this is what I was watching. Like the tree behind me, I just realised I was slightly higher than them, looking down. I was on a kind of a ridge on the common, and I could hear this kind of cuck, 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 cuck. And then I saw the movement, and then I saw the second cuckoo, and one, the male, clearly was chasing the female, and she was having none of it. And it was that typical mating dance, I suppose. But the difference, of course, with cuckoos, and I tell a story from Siberia, which kind of tells this story of the strange activity of the cuckoo, which has a ridge in its back, unlike other birds. Anyway, once they went off, they flew off together to mate somewhere in a forest at the edge of the common. And I know the story goes that in Siberia they tell this story, and it happens here, of course, where the cuckoo, once she is with egg, with youngling, she will fly around and she will look for the nest of another bird. She will not do what the magpie did and build a nest. Oh no. She will look for the nest of a different bird who's made a nest already. And not for what you might be thinking. Not to oust that bird from that nest so she can use it. Oh no, far worse than that. For she will wait till the mother or the father or both of them have gone off. And then she will get into that nest, and with the hollow of her back, she will ease the eggs that are in there into the hollow. And then she'll throw them out. And they go over the edge and smash. Each one. 1, 2 or 3, or whatever. 4. And then she will lay her egg in that nest. And then she flies off. And the story that I tell from Siberia is all about this fact that she had nothing to do with her children. They are useless. So she flies off and has no more to do with them, whether it's 1 or 2. And when the bird comes back, could be, I don't know, could be a little robin, could be blackbird, could be chaffinch, whatever it might be that's built a nest. They'll come back and they'll look around in their nest, and they'll see one egg left and they'll sit on it, and they'll wait days and days until the egg begins to crack open. Many years ago, I had a workshop at the edge of a field, and I remember seeing what I didn't recognise at the time. But I got my bird book out, and I thought, oh my goodness me, all these stripes and white, what's that? It's a cuckoo, oh my goodness. And then this little bird was flying backwards and forwards to it, and then there was another one. They were flycatchers, and they were feeding this cuckoo. And it stuck in my memory, thinking, how strange is that? It was only years later, as a storyteller, that I came across the story of the cuckoo who does not bring up her children. So they sit there and the egg cracks open and this little darling comes out. Ah, and they start to look after it and feed it, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until they look at one another, mother and father, and they go, it's not my fault. Why is it so big? I don't know. Just a big one. And they go on feeding it until it can fly, and they still go on feeding it. Such is the way of nature. And then, of course, what happens is in cultures, different cultures around the world, the stories form out of nature's peculiarities, its unusual way of being. So I've now come up, I've seen a butterfly. Wow. So I've come up to a part of the Mousehold Heath where there is plenty of gorse and paths through it. Of course, the gorse, as I was saying earlier, has incredible coconut smell. It's wonderful. It's like little sunbursts at this time of year. And because today just happens to be warm, even though the trees are bare and silent, we know that slowly rising up the trunk of the tree, up through the branches of the tree, there is sap rising up from the earth, and the tree is stirring and growing and becoming something again. That wonder that you can't stop nature growing. If we were to all vanish tomorrow, everything would just start growing in the streets, through the paving stones, pathways, on tops of houses. First weeds, other seeds would be dropped by birds, whatever else had survived. Nature is a piece of wonder, and we think we can control it. But that is quite an error, because nature has a way of survival. It will reshape itself. I'm watching now on the top of a tree, not the same one I suppose, but I don't know that. Magpie again, sitting out there perusing the distance, looking across tree tops, those empty trees. In front of me there's an oak tree with a few leaves from last autumn clinging on, yet underneath that sap is rising. The buds are swelling. Where I'm walking at the moment, there are hundreds of rabbits. There's lots of rabbit warrens and they burrow underneath these almost tree-size gorse bushes, and then they come out in dusk and dawn, foraging grass and the lichen and moss that grows around the edges, because it's been such a damp year. There's a lot of moss. I'm just going to cross over here. There are a few paths running through here. Nobody ever said to you, one of the interesting things about pathways, Neolithic pathways, Bronze Age footpaths, whatever they might be, is that when people walk and rewalk and walk and rewalk a pathway through a forest, over fields, up a hill next to a river, wherever it might be, if people keep doing it, They leave a pathway, an energy, if you like. And those places they feel good. And as long as there isn't, there's quite a bit of city noise here because I'm right on the edge of the city of Norwich. And I can hear some distant cars. But when you're really out in the wilds and you see a path and you think, I'll go that way. And partly of that is because so many people have gone that way. So I'm just going to turn the camera around. So this is this pathway here, which is walked regularly by dog walkers and just people like me walking. Either side of it is heather, which will soon turn purple, as it does on, say, somewhere like Exmoor or Dartmoor in Cornwall and Devon. But at the moment, everything's just very quiet. But underneath all that quiet, just like the trees, there is a sense of growth happening, and each tree will do that differently, of course. And just here is a really good example in the distance of silver birches. Silver birch is the Sunday tree, and it connects with, no, it's not Sunday, it's Monday, sorry. It's the Monday tree. It's the beginning. It begins the forest. It lives at the edges of forests. And one of the amazing things about the silver birch is that the bark survives. When the tree decays, you're left with the bark, which has often been used to protect a small boat, because it would be resistant to water and it's strapped to the boat. It's also an extremely good firelighter. It's got so much oil and it will ignite, even if it's wet, as I've discovered this particular wet winter. And when I'm looking over there, this is a managed heathland. As a plane flies overhead. This is a managed heathland. And one of the reasons for doing that is allowing everything to just find its place. So here, all the gorse is kept cut low, yet it's biodiversity, if you like. And in just the mid distance here, there's a whole clutch of brown bracken, and it's a good example, actually, of what happens to the silver birch. It is completely decayed away, and yet the bark itself is really tough, and that will be taken off in strips. You can use that to wrap around things. It's amazingly flexible, also very water resistant, as I said, fantastic for starting fires. There's another bit here, so it's decayed, but look at the bark. Amazing. It's beautiful. For me, I love drawing it. Look at that. And of course, underneath that, there'll be lots of little insects that have survived the winter. Beetles of one sort or another. So there it is. So this is my morning walk. This is the furthest I've walked for a month. And I do feel better, and I've got stories tonight. I've got, I think, 35 11-year-olds, 10 to 11-year-olds. And I may tell them the Cuckoo story. One of the odd things about storytelling over the years that I've found is that I have a few stories that I will know as my kind of clutch of stories. And then I'll go, no, I'm not going to tell this. There's another one I want to tell you this one. Or I might tell them a story that doesn't yet exist. And those of you who've been on my lives on social media will know that I'm doing a series of lives at the moment where I tell a story for about 40 minutes, a story that doesn't yet exist. And I'm just going, oh, look at that sunlight. That's cool. That's really cool. And it's probably a good place for me to go, yeah, thank you for, soothing voice. Do you know, isn't it odd? For years, before I was a storyteller, thank you very much for saying that, by the way. Before I was a storyteller, I did not like the sound of my voice at all. And who does? But then, oddly, and of course, you have to let go of ego here. You just have to in the end. I was going to schools a lot, 2,000 schools, 3,000 schools, more and more. Just so many schools, 250,000 kids, adults and whatever. And increasingly people would say, oh, I love the sound of your voice. And I mustn't overthink that. I think what I mean by that is that whatever gift you or I have, it's a blessing. And to let go of the ego and go, well, that's amazing. In that case, let me share it. And that in itself is amazing. So that when you tell a story, a narrative, a journey, somebody you met, what you did today, when you give that energy, then it's soothing. And that's really, really cool. So, yeah. Right now, I'm watching the Winter Olympics. You must be watching a recording. But that's fine. I enjoyed it too. Do you know, here in Britain, we have these two guys whose names have unfortunately stuck with me. Commentators. They were amazing. Thinking about voices. What came through was not just their knowledge, but their sheer joy of what they were commentating on. Utter joy and camaraderie, and watching people compete one against one another and yet applauding one another, hugging one another. And it didn't matter which country they came from. And I found, and I'm sure a lot of people did, I found that heartwarming, reassuring that humanity is amazing and we can compete, we can want to win, but at the end of the day, if you really want somebody else to win, you want to see them being their best selves, that is absolute healing medicine for humanity in these difficult days. I think on that I will close and live today, there's no tomorrow. Well, live for today, be in the present, be your best self, and applaud others for being the very same themselves. And on that, I'd like to say thank you for being here, and I will see you again on another live. Thank you for following me, and if you're not, do, then you'll know what I'm doing, and that I've got a new book coming out very soon. Enjoy your day.